on that because people don't realize they think enzymes digest food. They've never heard of anyone tell them how much enzymes are important for the mitochondria, for inflammation, for cancer defense, for all of these things. No, it seems like 99.9% of people out there have no idea about it.
Exactly. They don't. Very pretty here right now. It's supposed to rain, but
Well, you have it a lot better than we do here. It was snowing all day here, so
Where is here? Where are you?
we're in British Columbia. So
Oh,
just
I love British Columbia. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah. It's whereabouts are you?
In Marin County, Northern California, north of about 20 minutes north of San Francisco.
Okay.
Drive.
Okay, got it. Well,
It's beautiful.
we were just saying, do we know each other? I don't know if we've ever met, but man, I'm a big fan now after reading your book.
Good. Oh,
Huge fan.
thank you.
In fact, all of our cabins, because we run the Healing Oasis, which helps people with cancer, and not very many. I only have one other book that I put in every cabin. So your book has made the cut. It is in every cabin. I'm such a big believer on enzymes, which is why I'm so excited about this. So I'm going to just read real quick who you are, and then you can fill it in. But I'm going to read it from the back of the book so
Okay,
everybody
excellent.
knows.
Good, 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 great.
So Dr. Alan Cutler is a best-selling author and internationally recognized teacher, public speaker, and media spokesperson. She specializes in the use of desensitization of food and other sensitivities, gentle detoxification, and enzyme and nutritional therapies for chronic conditions that have perplexed the conventional medical establishment. This is all addressed in her revolutionary healing technique, ECM, Ellen Cutler method. She's the author of several books, including her most recent, Clearing the Way to Health and Wellness. And of course, the book that I have today that we're going to talk about and we're going to dive into is Micro Miracles, which I didn't know about. I'm going to tell you how big of a fan I am of enzymes, and everybody watching this knows that. But this is like the ultimate book on enzymes. So I'm excited that we get to chat.
Oh, that made my day. I have the chills. That's great. Yeah, because people don't really know how important enzyme therapy is. And just even taking a full spectrum digestive enzyme with each meal can be life changing. And
Yes.
so important for people who have chronic health conditions, which includes cancer for sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna later on, I'll share some stories of already what I'm seeing with people with cancer. So remind me, because it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So let me tell you how I got started with enzymes. My dad, the reason we started the Healing Oasis is he was my best friend. He passed away during COVID, unfortunately. But that spurred me on to start this place. But about 15 years ago, he had heard a doctor speak, and I think you probably knew the doctor. I forget his name, but he was quite a popular doctor that talked about systemic enzymes. And my dad heard this. So I had torn ligaments in my knees from basketball in my 20s. I had a bunch of scar tissue, and he's like, "Son, here, take these enzymes." And I didn't know what enzymes were. I was like, "Okay, Dad, whatever. I'll take some." Within a week, my scar tissue, my inflammation in my knees were like significantly reduced. And I was on crutches and I started walking around. And I said to my dad, I'm like, "What are these? Like what the heck?" And he actually was taking them, and he had a tobogganing accident when he was 12 years old, and he had this lump on the side of his hip that was there his whole life. And he started to take systemic enzymes, and it actually ate away. Like, for the first time, he didn't have this huge buildup of scar tissue. Well, when my dad and I witnessed this, we're like, whatever these things are, this is insane, because nothing else ever helped the scar tissue and the inflammation. So let's start there, Dr. Allen, on talk to everybody about what are enzymes, first of all. What's the difference between digestive and systemic? And then let's talk a little bit about scar tissue and inflammation, what it does. So what are
Yeah.
enzymes?
So enzymes are proteins, and they are in most of our chemical metabolic processes in the body require enzymes to make them work. So they are catalysts that make things happen. So even that alone, you can see how where we're going with it too. And there are digestive enzymes, there's metabolic enzymes too, and then we have plant enzymes or food enzymes.
Right.
So food enzymes, and I talk about this in the book, are found in all whole plant food. That's why I'm such a proponent of eating whole plant food as most of your diet because it's so important. Because when you cook the food, you're not getting those whole plant enzymes
Right.
that are important in digesting the food, absorbing the nutrients, metabolizing the food, and able to utilize those nutrients better. So food enzymes are very important too.
Okay,
And
but
then,
hold on
yeah,
before you go on. Is it true that the way that our food is now put into a truck and it's ripened in a truck, like when you say that, obviously I think it's better to get it right out of the garden or as close to that as possible so the enzymes are still there?
very good point. And I mentioned this in my book too. Unfortunately, and that's why I recommend taking a digestive enzymes. Unfortunately, the soil is doesn't have the cofactors that can help create as much of the enzymes that should be in our plant food. And what you just said, it's our soil has been so over agriculturized. And of course, when you add pesticides and that kind of thing too, our plant foods are not complete with all the enzymes that they should be
Right.
too. And then we get into, so then our body depends on our digestive enzymes. So we have digestive enzymes in our small intestines and our pancreas that help digest food.
Right.
And of course, those are important. You can't replace those or add to those. Those are there.
Right.
So people say, well, I'm gonna take the enzyme to help with, my metabolic. No, your digestive enzymes are what's there. Unfortunately, what happens is that when you don't eat enough plant food, you're not getting those food enzymes, your body utilizes more of those digestive enzymes and they can become depleted. And then guess what? You're not digesting your food. And undigested food can get into the bloodstream and can cause allergic reactions, can add to can reason you talked about how well you did is because a lot of autoimmune, a lot of inflammatory situations require these enzymes metabolically. But what happens is when your digestive enzymes are depleted, you borrow those enzymes to digest.
Right.
And they're not used for inflammation and for repair, et cetera. So that's
Right.
why enzymes work so well. And then you have the metabolic enzymes that are really important. Like I said, in every cell, in every tissue, in every organ of the body, there are thousands of different enzymes that make it work.
Yeah.
But again, if you're not digesting food, and this has been studied, you're going to borrow those enzymes to digest the food.
Right.
And then that's why, and then your enzyme reserve for things that you need to make ATP, to repair, for the immune system. That's why, some people are more susceptible to viruses or more susceptible to maybe chronic long COVID because they're depleted in some of these important metabolic enzymes that
Right.
we need for our systems to work, as well as how a car works, how well we need our bodies to do that too. So that's
Totally.
why you took an enzyme, it helped you,
Yes.
because it helped to do what should be done, but unfortunately we're depleted in many of those metabolic enzymes. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense because I've read all of Dr. Gonzalez's books as well. And what's interesting is Dr. Gonzalez had a theory about cancer that actually the pancreatic enzymes are your first line of defense. And I think Dr. Gonzalez was brilliant. And the reason
And I write about him in my book. It's in my book.
yes, there's a chapter on that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Unfortunately, he
the
passed away, which
yeah,
very
he passed
unfortunate.
away, unfortunately. But the reason I'm bringing this up is a lot of people, they change their diet with cancer and they start to feel better and they get better. And I said, yeah, that's because before you changed your diet, you were using up, eating all this crap food, this synthetic food, sugars. You're using up a bunch of these pancreatic enzymes. And now, because you've changed your diet, you're allowing your pancreas to actually be able to secrete more enzymes into the blood, which is now helping with inflammation. It's helping with the cancer. And so that's why diet is so important. And I'm glad you're touching on that because people don't realize they think enzymes digest food. They've never heard of anyone tell them how much enzymes are important for the mitochondria, for inflammation, for cancer defense, for all of these things. No, it seems like 99.9% of people out there have no idea about it.
Exactly. They don't. When I started enzymes, because enzymes saved my life. And when I started, which was maybe 40 something years ago, uh, it wasn't on the radar. Nobody knew what an enzyme was. It changed my life. Had chronic colitis, chronic bloating. I couldn't eat any foods. I couldn't digest any food. The only food I could live on when I was in my professional training and I support myself, I was so stressed and everything just my whole system it got so much more intense as far as these symptoms that this mentor of mine in a graduate course I was taking said, why don't you try? You're not digesting carbohydrates and you're fermenting those carbohydrates. Why don't you try a full spectrum digestive enzyme? And I said, okay, I'll try anything. Literally, after I took that enzyme, within 2 weeks, I never had a problem again. And that's why I've been so passionate about, they call me the Empress of Enzymes, so passionate about enzymes because of what it did to me. There's not a day that goes by that I don't recommend or suggest taking a digestive enzyme. And if you heard the stories that over the years, well, my book talks about a lot of those case histories, but I
Yep.
have a lot on my website too, some testimonials too, and then adding my ECM work. I have incredible results, incredible results.
And
And it's not that I treat cancer, but I treat patients that have cancer
yeah.
along with their other doctors or their other therapies. I don't tell them you shouldn't do this, but I add that and it's completely supportive of what they're doing and what their condition is.
Well, it's interesting because there's a lot of people coming out and saying that the root cause of cancer is inflammation. So can we talk a little bit about, I'm going to tell you a quick story. I had a person down my street, she was a teacher and she injured her lower back and she went to physio, she went to the medical doctor, no one could help her. So she was off work. She comes to me and I said, "Listen, I said I know doctors aren't going to tell you this, but here's some serapeptase. Got it from the health food store." And I said, "Go on quite a few of these." So I told her like take 10, 12 a day on an empty stomach. The next time I saw her right in front of my wife, she kissed me. She like grabbed me and kissed me. And she's like, she says, my back's healed. She goes, I don't know what you gave me, but I within a week of taking these, I started to be able to have movement. So the reason I'm telling these stories is enzymes are more than just incredible. That you call them in your book micro miracles. And it's funny, Dr. Allen, because I've been saying this for 15 years. I tell people they're miracles. They're miracles. That's what they are. So talk about inflammation because everybody watching this, there's a lot of people with cancer watching that are going to watch this and they know inflammation is sort of the root cause of how cancer can get triggered. So, can you explain how do enzymes deal so well with inflammation compared to anything? Because there's lots of people that say, "Oh, this is anti-inflammatory. This is I've never seen anything like enzymes. They're the best anti-inflammatory thing I've seen." So, could you explain the mechanism? How does that work?
Yes. Well, let me start from the beginning. First of all, my ECM work, which we'll talk about another time, maybe, because it is a fundamental part of my practice, and enzymes go along with it. When I find inflammation, that's a big red flag. In my testing, I have certain testing that I do. because I agree with you. If some area of the body is inflamed, and I find out which area of the body is inflamed, I like to address it because I do believe, and this is even in medical literature,
Right.
that cells that are inflamed, yes, are more predisposed to dysplastic behavior and malignancy for
Yeah.
sure. So long-term inflammation is not good. And long-term, and let's get back to long-term inflammation sometimes has to do with what you're eating.
Yeah.
Sure. If you're eating a lot of animal food, if you're drinking alcohol, if you're smoking cigarettes, or you're eating processed foods, that can create inflammation in the system. Because that's when I look and I see, well, what is the underlying cause of that inflammation? A lot of that comes up, like the diet.
Right.
There are certain enzymes, one of them, which I talk about a lot in my book called protease,
Yes.
physioprotease. So protease is an enzyme that digests protein, first of all, but what it also does, and it's always been one of my favorite enzymes to talk about, it also breaks down any foreign body or inflammatory mediators in the bloodstream, in the tissues. It's been proven to do this. So it is anti-inflammatory.
Right.
So I tell people that when you take protease, take it away from meals so it can do what it's supposed to do. It'll break, because if you're eating too much protein, animal protein, and it's not digested, you're not taking digestive enzyme, and then you're eating too much of it, that undigested protein gets in the bloodstream. That's dangerous.
Right.
That can cause inflammation. And people will have certain areas that are weaker, certain areas genetically that'll go to for the inflammatory issues
Yeah.
will kind of navigate to those particular areas. Protease, if taken between meals, can be incredible. It breaks up, clears, reduces inflammation immediately.
Right.
So when I work with a cancer patient, I recommend they take as many proteases as they can manage away from meals during the day.
Right.
And it can only help them. And even if they're going through something like chemotherapy, if they decide to do that, it will also help in
Right.
reducing some of the side effects, believe it or not. But it is so important. I love that enzyme. There's only certain people that sometimes have a little trouble with it, is people who have any kind of gastritis or hiatal hernia or GERD. They might have a little trouble taking it. So I tell them to open the capsule, put it
Okay.
in water, and drink it instead. And that will also, they'll be able to tolerate it.
Can you overdose on protease? Like if somebody took like I mean an insane amount, like is it or what happens? What happens if you
Nothing.
take
You can't overdose on any enzymes. That's what's so great. So I teach my work. I remember this other doctor, oh God, maybe about 10 years ago. She said she gave her patient who had cancer, said take 30 proteases a day.
yeah,
So I can't really do it. Maybe you have a little loose stools or whatever, and
yeah,
maybe a little GERD. It can't hurt your stomach.
yeah.
There's actually no proof it can, but some people have sensitive stomachs sometimes. So anyway, this woman actually had incredible results.
Well, let me quickly tell you. It's funny. I just had a woman here for a month, and she was given weeks to live. Her cancer, her tumor is visibly it's GIST, so gastrointestinal stroma. So her tumor was visibly outside of her stomach, like you could feel it. It was like almost like she's pregnant a little bit, like. Um, she has tried everything. She was taking 40 a day on an empty stomach with Cripsin, chymotrypsin, protease, 40 a day on an empty stomach. And she said she is feeling the best she's ever felt. They're starting to change. The tumors went from hard to starting to soften up a little bit. And she said she absolutely is convinced that that these are miracles, and she's like going to stay on them for however long. She said even if it's years, she's just going to stay on them. So I mean,
It won't hurt. I've been taking protease. I take 3 a day. I've been taking it for, God, decades. I'm very I'm attached to the digestive enzyme, attached to protease. And of course, we have other, and not I created, but it's not mine anymore. There are other enzymes, we call them systemic
right,
enzymes that have herbs in them for, like, say, the kidney, or herbs, or more for inflammatory soft tissue
right.
injuries, or some for the respiratory system. But what's good about them, why they're in an enzyme form in the product, is the enzyme is a catalyst. So it helps those herbs work
Yeah.
even better than if you just took them without the enzyme in them. So
Well, I haven't stopped taking, I haven't missed a day for 15 years.
how
I've
come we
taken,
just met? I don't understand.
I don't know, but I've taken protease for 15 years. And Dr. Allen, you're so funny because I am like, you write in your book how you're the biggest believer of enzymes. And I'm like, well, wait a second. I might be a very close second because I
That's
have been
great. I
telling
love it. This is the
everybody
great.
about it.
This is the best.
Um, so, okay. So I have so much that I want to ask you, but, is it true that as people age, so like your pancreas is secreting enzymes, as people age, do the production of enzymes go drastically down as they get older?
Well, that's what's said. Yes, they
Okay.
do diminish a little bit, but I think somebody like you and I, who have been on taking digestive enzymes for so long, I doubt that that's an issue. We're
Okay.
talking about people that, have not supported their digestive system. So maybe yes, but it is kind of, I can see it a little bit in some of the patients that are elderly, that they have more problems with GERD or burping, and or flatulence, whatever, that they love. There's an enzyme that we have called GI Calm that is something you guys should have there, because it is amazing. It doesn't have protease in it, but
Okay.
it has lipase, and it has some of the sugar digestive enzymes, and it has marshmallow root and DGL. So
Yeah.
it's great for people. Some people who are elderly, and some people always had trouble with their stomach. People love this enzyme. It's a great enzyme when people eat too much food and they're stuffed, or when they go on vacation. We it's been, of all the enzymes, it's been the most popular enzyme for years and years and years. You can't live without it once you start taking it. So
And
people have
what is it
been,
called?
it's called GI Calm, and it's one that we have here. You can get it on the website.
Okay.
You can
Got it.
buy it on the website. And then we have one just came out, called Gas End. That's great
Okay.
for people. But those combinations,
Are awesome.
it's been a big, big success for us, as far, and helpful for these people too,
Right.
especially people that are elderly, for sure.
Well, we have luckily, because I partnered with a doctor, naturopathic doctor, so we manufacture our own brand of enzymes for the
Oh,
Healing
you do?
Oasis. But what
Oh,
was nice about your book was you actually go in and
good.
say this digestive enzyme should have all of these enzymes, and I was comparing it, and it really helped me because it was nice to see that we pretty much had every single thing you
Great.
said should be in it. But I want people to realize that's why this book is so important, because you give practical stuff. It's not just theory. It's like a lot of really good information, like the type of enzymes. What do you do with these type of conditions or diseases or whatever? So I just want everybody to realize there's a lot of really good practical information in
Yeah,
the
thank
book.
you. And when I do my evaluation, let's say, like, I had somebody that I Zoomed with this morning, who is an actor who has long COVID, right?
Okay.
And is suffering, And what I do is do an evaluation through my ECM work. And the first thing I look at is what they're not digesting. So some people, and I talk about that in my book, don't digest fat that well. Some people don't digest carbohydrates, which is probably 80 to 90% of the population. Some
Right.
people don't digest fiber, and some people don't digest protein too. And I talk about the different symptoms related to it. And sometimes there are better enzymes for those people, but usually a full spectrum enzyme will,
Right.
pretty much help all of those. But it's good to know that, because if somebody doesn't digest protein, it's probably not a good idea for them to be on a high protein
So hold on.
diet.
How do you, just real quick? I know that, and I want people to know that there's obviously this is more in depth, but how would you know? How would you know if you talk to me whether I can digest carbohydrates or if I'm having a hard time? What would the symptoms be for those
Oh,
things?
good. Yeah. Well, people who don't digest protein, first of all, crave protein. You always crave the food you're most sensitive to. And the most sensitive is usually you're not digesting. So
Okay.
you crave protein. So if somebody's craving protein, they usually don't digest it. They don't break it
Okay.
down. The other thing is they crave sugar. People who don't digest protein crave sugar
Oh,
too.
interesting.
And they tend to have more liver issues. They tend to be more bloated. They have problems with after they eat. They'll notice symptoms.
Okay.
Whereas somebody who doesn't digest carbohydrates crave carbs, they have because they ferment, they have problems with bloating like maybe 2 hours later.
Oh,
I say, oh, I'm okay after I eat, but 2 hours later, I'm so bloated. I have a lot of gas. I am hungry again. I have bowel movement issues, either constipated. And that's a majority of the people are carbohydrate intolerant. And then people digest fat. It's very interesting. They crave salt.
right.
Isn't that interesting? People
That is
digest, they crave salt, and they also have problems with digestion after. So they'll feel more bloated after too, as well. And then
interesting.
people digest fiber, and really, we don't make an enzyme in our body. We don't make cellulase. So we depend on chewing to get the cellulase from fiber.
Right.
So another important thing is take your digestive enzymes, but chew your food
Chew your,
well as well.
right. Right. But a lot of these things you're saying, if people just took a full spectrum
They'd
digestive
be fine.
enzyme, they'd be
They'd be
fine.
fine. They'd be
So,
fine. And
so
you can take it, and I always recommend to take it like 10 minutes before. More of the studies I have seen and done, you can take it anytime, like in between meal, like in middle of the meal, even after, it'll still
yeah,
work well. But
yeah,
I would take it before. I will not eat if I don't have my answer. Sorry.
yeah. I'm the same way. I mean, I can't go a day without taking enzymes. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it's so
yeah.
important. It makes me feel so great. Um, so
You know what? It's anti-aging.
yeah,
It really is. Because it not only, and I talk about that in my book, you're not only supporting your digestive system, you're supporting your hormonal system, you're supporting your immune system, because I just talked about that. Your skin is not about all the creams, the anti-aging creams. It's what you're eating, it's what you're digesting, it's what your body's utilizing, it's the nutrients it's utilizing that helps your skin become more radiant
right.
and more energy. I mean, the first thing for most people that I see when they come to see me, I don't have any energy. I'm fatigued, you
Right.
know? And I was like that 40 years ago. Now, there's not a day that I don't have energy, you know? And maybe it's genetic, and maybe I love exercise and I do it all the time, but I owe it to helping digestive food. And I'm a vegan, and I
Right.
think that's one of the best diets for sure.
Totally. So, okay. So, do you on a regular basis, you do digestive enzymes? Do you take systemic as well
All the
yourself?
time. I
All the
do.
time. Yeah, so
Yeah.
do I. I mean, I take, and I mean, we can go into all kinds of stuff, but like I also take nattokinase to help cleanse my blood.
Yeah.
I've been taking that for almost 15 years
Well,
as,
honestly, protease does almost the same thing
right.
as that. Protease also it doesn't thin the blood as much as nattokinase, but it's fibrinolytic. So
Yeah.
it breaks up fibrin. So, which is really good, because because cancer patients tend to be hypercoagulable.
Yes.
So you want to break, so it's good. So nattokinase is very good. Protease works just as well. So I'm sure you're really covered with that.
Yeah.
And so I don't do nattokinase, but I do protease for
Now,
sure.
protease are there different kinds of protease, like enzymes, right? Like there's all like wouldn't serrapeptase be considered a protease?
It is considered a protease.
Okay.
Serapeptase is something I recommend. And what I like about serapeptase too, it's a little bit more anti-inflammatory than protease.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a really good point, and I've recommended it too.
Yeah.
Any enzyme I love it. If it
Any
has an H in it, I love it.
Yeah, I agree totally. Okay, so people, here's what's funny about our world we live in, and I don't know why this is, but I ask people that come and visit us that stay with us. I get a show of hands, like who's taking curcumin or reishi mushroom, and everybody's showing their hands. And I always ask, who's heard of enzymes? Who's taking enzymes? And I'm telling you, it's always zero. There's nobody, and these are people with cancer. So
Yeah.
why first question I have for you, and I think I know the answer, is how good are vitamins if you're deficient in enzymes?
Not good. You're
Okay.
right. Exactly. So I always tell people you're not so much vitamin mineral deficient, you're enzyme deficient. So if you eat a whole plant food diet and you take your enzymes, you really don't need to be taking a lot of vitamins unless you are. So one of the things I do in my testing is I look at sensitivities, and you mentioned it when you talked about who I am. And sometimes people are sensitive to vitamins. In fact, the first thing I do when I work with people is I clear them of the sensitivities related to some basic ones, which are vitamins and minerals. And people say, well, how could I be allergic or sensitive to vitamin C? You know what? There are so many reasons why. It could be related to some emotional issue. It could be related to some infection that your body's still hanging on to.
Right.
So it could be that you haven't been digesting foods that have that. So there could be a lot of reasons why. So that's one of the things I do. But once that's cleared and you can eat well and you take your enzyme, you don't really need to be taking all these extra vitamins. I mean, there's some things that are true. Like I need to take B12 because I'm a vegan, because
Okay.
it's not in,
Yeah.
it's stored in the liver about 6 years, but I haven't eaten meat for many years. And I take vitamin D because I spend my time inside.
Yeah.
And those things I will always do.
Right.
And other things I take because I just love the enzyme supplements that we've created.
Yeah.
Like one that has mushrooms that's good for the immune system.
Right.
One that's good for adrenals that has certain things in there good for adrenals. But if I didn't take it, I'd be okay also.
Right. Um, so why is it that we live in 2025? We're apparently a very scientific society. Dr. Beard, in your book, you talk about this, but I have his book from 1905, the enzyme treatment of cancer. I actually got the book and read it. So this is Dr. Beard discovered enzymes helping with cancer in 1905. Enzymes are an important part of life. Why do no one in the medical system talks about enzymes? None in the conventional system. In the naturopathic system, hardly any naturopaths. I
Right?
mean, they know stuff about digestive enzymes, like take some digestive, but they don't know hardly anything about enzymes. Why is that? I mean, we're in 2025 and enzymes are such an important factor of health. Why is there not more people talking about enzymes?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I ask that all the time because people actually find them themselves rather than their
Yeah,
doctor, someone telling them about it too.
yeah,
I just think that there's not enough of us educating people about it.
right.
I'm here. I still work almost full time. I won't tell you how old I am. I
You
don't have
look
enough
at, I
time.
actually wish you told because I think people would be astonished. You look amazing and you're taking enzymes and it would be like, I mean,
Well,
yeah,
I'm 74 years
you're
old.
set. No way.
Yeah, I know. I
Okay,
can't believe
well,
that either, but
well,
I know.
people that are watching this are going to already see, okay, enzymes
And it's
definitely,
anti-aging, I feel like that, you know.
yeah,
It's you know, but first of all, the pharmaceutical company can't make money on enzymes.
no, you can't
That's
patent it.
probably the big thing too, you know. And I, you know, I think we just have to spread the word, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and but it's hard for me to believe that it's such an important part of, you know, it's so darn simple. Digest your food,
yeah,
you know, rather than taking all these supplements. People come in with tons of supplements they're taking, have no idea why they're taking it. So
yeah.
and so told them or read about it, you know. You can cut most of it in half because some of it can be toxic. Look, if you don't digest your food, how are you going to digest all those supplements, right?
Okay, so hold on, let's talk about this because this is going to answer. There are
Right.
people watching this, and this has been something a lot of people can't understand. I talk to people with cancer every day, and some people that I talk to say to me, Dave, I don't understand what's going on. I eat all vegetables, raw vegetable. I have a great diet. And how did I end up with cancer? And you talk about in your book, and I want to talk more about this. If your food's not being digested and you're depleted in enzymes, it actually becomes toxic even when you're eating really good food. So explain this to people so they
Yeah,
understand this.
exactly. Well, you explained it exactly. You know, you can go to the best places. I've talked about this in the book. I mean, you know, buy all organic stuff, but if you don't digest your food and you're not getting the nutrients or you're not breaking down those foods, those undigested foods you become sensitive to, you become allergic to,
Right?
that can create inflammatory mediators, antigen antibody complexes that can float around the system and can end up in different parts of the body. And then the immune system starts attacking it and it can cause cellular damage and cause mitochondria damage too. And that's important. Listen, I've always been into eating vegetables, being even when before I even started it, but I had terrible problems too, you know.
Right.
So taking a digestive within 3 weeks, I never had that problem again, 2 to 3 weeks, which was amazing to me too,
Wow.
you know. And I think it reduces the stress. Everybody has stress too. There's so many other factors. The reason that I also utilize a system that I utilize here, because I did find, even though people did take enzymes, there are certain other things I needed to address, certain things that I call them allergies, reactivities, sensitivities. And I work with that also in combination with the dietary recommendations and the enzymes I recommend too.
Right.
So for example, somebody comes in with asthma,
Okay.
right? I look, because not everyone has the same underlying factors that causes respiratory distress or asthma,
Right.
right? I look and see what it is. And then I see what foods they're not digesting. So with the digestive enzyme I recommend, and maybe a couple other enzymes, systemic enzymes that might be good for a while, I also desensitize them to reactivities to items that I have found related to their asthma. You know, it
Okay.
could be mold, it could be dust, it could be foods that they're eating they're just allergic to also.
And
And
are are you using like a biofeedback type
it's
machine?
it's called an avatar, and
Okay.
it's based on Vohl's work. I don't know, but Meridian work or energetic. I look at it as more as an energetic device. It is, if people saw what I did, nobody does what I do in the world. It's remarkable.
So I want to know more about this. So I some your assistant sent me some information about the core, but I want to talk about this. So is it I've heard of biofeedback, but this is different.
This is different. And it would be great to have something like this in your facility there because you could actually test people on all the foods. It would, I know you'd probably get great results. You would even be getting greater results because you would test everything. And then, and you can see what are the underlying causes of why they even got cancer.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
how do you test? What do you just explain it? What do you do to test? Like this
So I
avatar?
have, there's this instrument that I have
Okay.
that it's called the Avatar. And these I use people, it's almost like a lie detector test. I test people on their palm or different areas, different meridians on the body that's hooked into my program that you can't see, but it's on the machine here. And and then I have a whole protocol that I teach how to evaluate, what to look for, and how to clear those sensitivities. Like I said, so if you look at, let's say somebody comes in with cervical cancer, or whatever, again, I don't treat the cancer, but I do help with clearing certain things that can help support them in their journey
Right.
with their healing too.
Right.
But it is such an important tool. And once people get involved with it, once people they're hooked.
So what kind of results have you seen with people? And I don't mean cancer necessarily. I mean, obviously a lot of people
Yeah.
watching this, but cancer is a chronic disease. So any chronic
Any kind of
disease.
shit.
So
I've had great results with all kinds of, and I wrote a book on asthma, all immune system, long COVID, hormonal stuff, anything, chronic fatigue, or just blow all the GI stuff, leaky gut. I've
right,
worked with everything. I
right,
don't, teeth. I don't say, well, I can only see. Again, I treat the person. I don't treat the disease.
right, right.
So I look at their symptoms. What are the underlying causes of these symptoms? And that's what I look at. And then I have a huge program that I developed and how a protocol and how to look for that and how to test for it
So the avatar is not, you developed a program that goes in.
with the avatar.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So the
Got it.
avatar is the tool that I use that his name is Bob Eames. He's from Las Vegas. He created the avatar and he worked with me very closely to put this program to, and I do teach it too. I
Yeah.
teach to anyone. They don't have to be doctors. I found after COVID, all kinds of people want to learn how to heal and
Yeah.
so I'm open to teaching to anyone because it can't hurt you. It can only help.
Yeah, that's cool. That I'm gonna follow up after this with you
Yeah,
about.
I mean, to get something like that in your facility there, oh God, you would love it.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
You would
because
love it.
we're such a big believer when people are here, we're a huge believer in helping find out root causes like, when they're here they're eating from a private chef, but it's like, okay, but like you said, you can eat the best food in the world and if you're not digesting it properly or if you have allergies or reactions, and so I totally agree with all of that. And we want to be able to send people home after they're here doing their IVs and their treatments. We want to send them home. And by the way, you'd love this. The home protocol we send them home with is an enzyme and detox protocol. That's what they do when
That's
they get
great.
home.
That's great.
Because I mean, it's the best thing for them to do. But be able to go home if we could test them like this. I mean, that's why I say I got to talk to you more about it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it would be great. I
Yeah,
can just we could just do a seminar just with you and whoever else or would be interested in learning it. It's all done Zoom. I mean, you could definitely come visit me here, but it's all done Zoom.
yeah, that's
And it's such an important part of the healing process that I do because there are some foods, even though you digest it, the sensitivity is probably a lot less, but there's still some foods that people are still sensitive to. And there's other reasons for that, maybe it's tied to some virus that they
mhm.
had a long time ago or an emotional trauma that occurred. That has to be cleared, especially for somebody with cancer. There's a lot of hidden
Oh,
emotions, like hidden trauma. I'm sure you know.
oh yeah.
We could find that out in this testing.
Really?
Yes, all the
Wow.
time. That's what we do all the time.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, we definitely need to connect and talk about it for sure. I think
Yeah.
I think that would I actually I think it would be a really cool thing to have because we do have some of the most advanced like treatments here. Like we have a naturopathic doctor and we do like a whole bunch of different IVs. We have a hyperthermia machine, we have a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, we have a private chef. I mean, we got but to be able to take the and of course you can send away and I wanted to ask you this actually, because you can send away samples to like biotech lab to do a nutritional profile. But my naturopathic doctor, Dr. Sean Caesar, has been doing this for 20 years, and he said He's tried it and it's not great. He said. So, what's the difference between what you're doing and doing something like that, where you send it to a lab?
This is more accurate.
Okay.
Definitely. I was going to say that I don't trust those labs.
Okay.
I trust what I find.
Okay.
I
Go.
really trust what I find. Like I said, it's when you learn it and you really become proficient in it, you can test and you can see, well, this might be a better therapy for this person than this. So it's very individualized. So when someone comes in, immediately you can individualize their program and see what's best for them.
Interesting. And how,
Yeah.
and so do people search for your, I mean, it's called the ECM,
ECM, yeah. It's
yeah.
under, I talk a lot about it. It's under my website,
And
drellencutler.com.
do people search for people in the world that have been trained by you to go and,
Yeah. Well, I don't have, I used to have another company was Bioset. Unfortunately, I lost that company. So ECM it's been a few years, but it's
okay,
not as popular. I taught hundreds and hundreds of Bioset practitioners. So there's not as many ECM practitioners. Because I really, really want the best.
so we would be, if I did this, the Healing Oasis would be like the first one to adopt your program as part of a
Exactly.
cancer retreat.
So,
Okay, well,
that'd be great. That would be so great.
we got to do it
But
because
you
I'm
got to do it. No, you talk to Bob Ains, you talk to him on the phone, and you will be amazed at talking to him how successful this kind of work is and what the possibilities are for
interesting.
anyone, especially in your kind of situation. It'd be optimal.
And it's using energy feedback from your
Yeah,
body.
it's an energetic technique that I developed my own way of testing. And once you learn how to test, the learning the program isn't hard. It's just the testing you have to learn. But
Right.
everybody has their own unique way of testing too. So
Right.
you'll develop that over time. But it's so accurate, and it's so successful in doing what's necessary and clearing based on learning my protocols. So, and
Okay.
that I would be able to help you all the time when you needed it. So,
Oh
and
yeah.
even come there and talk to you about it and help you once you get it. So I'd be very happy to do that.
Oh yeah. We would
I would be
definitely.
good. I love British Columbia and it's close to me, so it's not that bad. It's
Well,
close.
then we definitely have to do it because I'll have a place for you to stay here. We have 40
Oh, that
acres.
would be great. My husband would love it, who's also a medical doctor, and he helps write my newsletters. You should
Oh,
definitely try to have great newsletters. But he and I would come and,
oh yeah.
he's my biggest,
To-
advocate for my work. But I would love to come there and
yeah,
talk to you, help you guys. It'd be great. I mean,
okay.
this is so important for you. It's so important for the world, really.
Oh yeah, and I believe well just the fact that you're what's your nickname for enzymes? You said it the what's your
And the
nickname?
Empress of
The
Enzymes.
Empress of Enzymes. Just the fact that you're the Empress of Enzymes, and just you got to understand how important that is for me because my whole belief in life of health was enzymes. Like that was like so, to adopt anything you're doing, the fact that you know how important enzymes are, I already trust you because so many people don't even know that. And so yeah, I'm definitely going to look into this. So hopefully the people that are watching, hopefully by the time we open again in May, maybe we'll have the Dr. Ellen Cutler method going on.
That'd be so great. Yes. I mean,
Uh,
I'll just make a time to teach you, and that's it. So
Awesome.
it would be a one-on-one. It'd be great.
Okay, well then, yeah, we'll definitely talk. When
Oh,
I
I love it.
finish,
That
when we're,
made my day. I'm so excited.
yeah, and it will be the first cancer retreat in the world that's doing your method. I think it would be really,
And
really
people
cool.
will come from all over the world.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm excited about it. So when I finish stop recording this, I'll just chat with you a little bit more about
Yeah,
it.
good, good, good.
So just to finish with enzymes, so people that are aging, it's like an anti-aging. So even people, if they're watching this and they don't have cancer or they don't have a chronic disease, I think everybody's picking up on this, but the point
Mhm.
is that everybody in today's society, because we're not getting the right nutrients from the soil, the right vegetables, everybody should be on enzymes as a supplement.
Definitely. I think everyone should. Like I said, people, like we said, people are not vitamin deficient or mineral deficient, they're enzyme deficient. And it's because soil, even if you eat the best,
Yeah,
try to get the soil's not as nutrient. It doesn't have those cofactors
yeah.
that help with getting the digestive enzymes and in digesting well those plant foods and utilizing those nutrients. So it makes a huge difference. It
So,
does.
and I'm going to say to everybody watching this, because it's my belief, and I'm not a doctor, but I am going to say this that I've witnessed it that people spend a lot of money on advanced cancer treatments. So they go to Germany, they come even here, they go to Mexico, they go all over, they get the, IVs, hyperthermia. And I'm just going to say to people watching this that if you're not taking enzymes, you're doing a disservice to your body because you're spending so much money on these treatments. And I feel like enzymes are complementary to every one of the treatments people are getting. So why not take enzymes while you're getting these expensive treatments that people fly all over the world to get?
Absolutely. And and I've had every patient I've seen that have had cancer have not had recurring cancer. Again, not that I treat cancer,
Right.
but I do treat them afterwards, and they're patients for life, really,
Yeah.
because I can always test them and see what's coming on, anything acute, and clear it. That's important in their ongoing health
Right.
journey. And because once you've had cancer, it's always like the worry, I'm going to get a recurring cancer again.
Right.
So I work with a lot of people. I've not ever had anyone get recurrent cancer. And I've been in practice for many, many, many years.
That's incredible.
That's
Okay.
incredible.
Okay.
So it's value to what I do. It's the value of and again, I when I work with people, I'm finding all kinds of different sensitivities, and things like hidden emotions are so important. With
Oh
anybody
yeah.
with a chronic disease, that hidden emotion is vital to seeing it and clearing it. And that's what I do that's successful as a clearing. That's what you'll learn too, how to clear. And you teach people how to do their own clearings.
Right. Right. That's super important. The
It's going to
emotional
be very important.
Yeah, the emotional aspect, anybody who has helped people with cancer, the emotional
And
aspect.
the other thing I have felt too at the bottom of a lot of cancers is viruses.
Right.
This will recognize these viruses, especially, and also if you're talking about people that have dementia or have, you know, uh, beginning cognitive decline, looking at these viruses are really important in clearing the virus, not just COVID, Epstein-Barr, Coxsackie, um,
How do you clear the viruses if you detect it?
because I'm finding it energetically, the clearing that I do that you'll learn, it's a clearing that they learn how to do, clears it. It's almost like reframing it, retraining the brain that the body is cleared of it. So I talk a lot about that. If people are interested, they look on the website and read about ECM, and it tells exactly, gives
Okay.
you a little idea of how the clearing is and how important it is
So
in the
now does this energy work? Does anybody ever like is it what's the word I'm looking for? If people have any kind of spiritual beliefs, like if they have a belief in God, does it ever conflict with people's belief
no,
systems?
no,
Okay.
no. So it's non-religious, non-spiritual,
Okay.
and which is really good. So it doesn't even get into any of that too,
Right.
which is
Right. Yeah,
important.
because I believe that we're
Although
made.
that might need to be cleared too.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, that's true. It is true. And I'm a big believer that we are energetic. That's our makeup.
Exactly.
As
Yeah.
as I mean it
Because the thing is, which I tell this to people all the time. Well, so and so had pancreatic cancer. I'm going to get it also.
right.
And sure enough, when I test them, it's going to show up. Why does it show up? Because they're thinking it,
Your mind.
energetically thinking it. And when you think something, and it can manifest.
It is so
So
true.
you have to clear those underlying beliefs or those those thoughts, and it works. It clears it. It's remarkable.
That's interesting. Your
Yeah,
mind is
it's
so
really
powerful.
important because you keep think these things, go to sleep, you're thinking, you're worried, you end up manifesting the stuff.
Yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
how do you control people's people that are thinking these things? How do you change their thinking if
That's
there's
my clearings will do it because because you get to the underlying root of why they're thinking it,
right,
and once they see that and you clear, sometimes just telling them clears it. Just
right,
the information is very
yeah,
healing. Getting that information is incredible for people who have chronic health issues, for
right.
sure.
And do you find that fear is an underlying thing in a lot of disease? Fear?
Yes, fear is a big one, for sure.
Okay,
Fear. And you can clear those things too. You can clear emotions too.
right,
I talk a lot about that in
right,
my other book, Clearing the Way to Health and Wellness too. That
right.
talks a lot about ECM.
Yeah, I really believe in this stuff. Like it's a big deal because as a human, the medical system is focused on the physical. And there's so much more to a human being than just the physical. And I think most people innately understand that.
They understand that. They
Yeah,
do understand it. They do. I'm
yeah,
always amazed how much more. Sometimes the most difficult, most resistant, the most, no way this works. They do the best. Is that
right.
interesting? Because it's all their head, it's all their thoughts.
Yeah,
When I work with someone, I look at them as healthy, whole, and happy. That's
interesting.
who we really are.
Yeah,
So, and I think the way that energy gets passed to them,
yeah,
So it's just thoughts and just beliefs, and parents taught them these things, So
yeah.
it's healing is completely full body. You have to get to all the root of it.
And so that might be why too people when they stay with us for 3 weeks, they're right in nature because we're surrounded by forest and a lake. It's
Which
right.
is the best.
Yeah, so that must also there's an energy to the nature, to forests, to lakes, and so that must help clear because
Oh, absolutely.
I had one gentleman, he had stage 4 colon cancer and he was here and he said he had this emotional breakthrough because they're here 3 weeks is a long time. So
It
they're
is a
at
lot.
their cabin, they're focused on nothing but healing. They're just sitting on their deck in nature, they're getting treatments. And he said he had an emotional release that he's never had in his entire life. And it was just from sitting in nature,
Oh,
which
that's incredible.
it's incredible. Yeah.
That's
So it's
incredible.
incredible what
I
that
love
can
it.
do.
And you
Um,
see, only open May through.
yeah. So we're only open May till the end of September
Oh, I see.
because
Wow.
it snows so much. So we have to close, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I am trying to figure out how to expand and offer it during the winter.
Or another place.
Or another place. Yeah, I've thought about that actually. It's such a big, I mean, as you know, the amount
Yeah,
of cancer that's happening now. And I mean, I have my theories of why there's so much cancer happening, but it's insane how many young people are getting colorectal cancer,
oh yeah.
breast
Yes.
cancer, prostate cancer. I mean, it is insane. Like when I grew up, if you heard oh, Aunt Sally had cancer, everybody was shocked in the family because you didn't know people that had cancer. And now it's like everywhere you go, everyone around you has cancer, it seems like.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah. It's very, yeah. But you're helping people.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's what we were called to do.
Yeah.
My wife and
Yeah.
I were called to do this.
Oh,
So we
that's
get
wonderful.
yeah. So but this was great. I'm gonna finish and wrap it up and then we'll chat
Yes.
real quick
No, Chad,
afterwards.
and I have a patient at 3 o'clock,
Okay. Okay. So
unfortunately.
so we're gonna wrap it
So
up. So just to end, everybody, Dr. Ellen Cutler, that's who, and there's so much information in this book. So anybody who comes to the Healing Oasis, we have them in every cabin, but of course, not everybody can come. So go and order this. It is on Amazon. That's where I got them from. So thank you again. It was
thank
awesome.
you. This was wonderful. Bless you. And can't wait to work with you guys.
Yeah.